Webster's dictionary defines the term chaos as a state of utter confusion, a confused mass or mixture, a state of things in which chance is supreme, and the inherent unpredictability in the behavior of a complex natural system. In my opinion, each of those varying definitions can be applied to the LA Lakers franchise, specifically the last one, inherent unpredictability in the behavior of a complex natural system. See, for the past decade or so, since the Lakers capped the 2000s with their fifth NBA title in 11 seasons, the franchise has been in a perpetual state of disarray. Now keep in mind, these terms I'm using to describe the Lakers aren't necessarily negative. No, sometimes the chaos has earned positive results. We're about to cover all of it here in this video, as I've pinpointed 10 different chaos inflection points which define the last decade of Lakers basketball. Alright, so let's start with where the good vibes essentially ended for the Lakers. Back in 2010, watching them win the NBA championship in Game 7 over the Celtics. Kobe won his second straight finals MVP, his fifth ring, and the Bryant Gasol Bynum Artest core looked poised to roll into a new decade ready to inflict more damage. Yeah! Phil Jackson would return for one final season at the helm after much deliberation, and the Lakers would match their 2010 record in 2011, finishing 57-25. Kobe finished fourth in MVP voting, while Lamar Odom had his finest NBA season, winning 6th Man of the Year. Pau Gasol was an all-star for the second consecutive season, while young Andrew Bynum was continuing to evolve. He'd average 11 and 9 on the season. Holy, the vibes were immaculate. Not for long, unfortunately. Kobe would sprain his ankle pretty badly in a game against Dallas late in the season. While he didn't miss any time due to that injury, he re-aggravated it during LA's first round playoff series against the Hornets. Gosh, my own ankles hurt just watching that. While he once again didn't miss any time, the Mamba was clearly compromised, as he limped to some truly pedestrian numbers while the Lakers were swept in the second round by Dallas. Important to note here as well, the Lakers actually went out really sad in Game 4 of that series. They lost by 36 points, with Andrew Bynum taking a wild cheap shot at JJ Barea. Additionally, Magic Johnson ripped them on ESPN at halftime during the game, saying, quote, "The Lakers are already on vacation and they didn't want to play this game." By the way, not the last time Magic Johnson will come up in this video. Having clearly stayed one season too long, Phil Jackson would finally retire from the Lakers ahead of the 2011-12 season, with former Cavaliers bench boss Mike Brown replacing him. Just prior to the commencement of the lockout-shortened season, on December 8th, 2011, oh, and this is chaos inflection point number 1, by the way, for those of you keeping track at home, the LA Lakers would make a blockbuster trade to acquire Chris Paul from the New Orleans Hornets. It was a 3-team deal sending Lamar Odom, Kevin Martin, Luis Scola, and Goran Dragic to the Hornets, Pau Gasol to the Rockets, and of course Chris Paul to the Lakers. Just days prior to the trade, rumors had leaked that the Lakers actually had their eyes set on acquiring both Chris Paul and Dwight Howard. Those rumors were ignorantly laughed off by the league, but nobody was laughing after LA did make a move for CP3, and did so without trading away Andrew Bynum, meaning a Kobe, CP3, Dwight Big 3 was very much on the table. I mean, talk about league-altering moves. I'm sorry, what? Michael Caine has something to say? I mean, I guess.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money.
All right, okay.
They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with.
Bro, what's your point?
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Oh. Yeah, okay, I get it now. On December 9th, 2011, the Chris Paul blockbuster trade was straight up vetoed by then Commissioner David Stern. RIP, of course, but this decision is still so tough in hindsight. Our guy Woj reported at the time, Stern didn't like the idea players were dictating where they wanted to play, as well that certain owners in the league such as Dan Gilbert, gross, vehemently opposed the trade because of how lopsided it was for the Lakers. Either way you slice it, the decision to veto the trade is super muddy, especially considering the Hornets were actually owned by the league at the time. But whatever the reason was, the only true outcome was generating more chaos for the LA Lakers.
Dan Gilbert and the other small market owners, as owners of the Hornets, they just cut off their nose to spite their face because the Hornets were going to be at least as good without Chris Paul. This was a terrific trade.
And at least they get something in
no,
losing
something.
Chris Paul.
Are you kidding me?
So we didn't get a CP3 trade nor a Dwight deal to LA. However, Lamar Odom was traded to Dallas as a result of him being super hurt at his inclusion in the proposed Paul move. The Lakers would still win win the Pacific Division in 11-12, finishing 41-25 on the season. This was thanks in large part to a developing Andrew Bynum, who'd be named All-NBA second team after an impressive season. Into the playoffs, the Lakers would nearly choke a 3-1 series lead in round 1 against Ty Lawson and the Denver Nuggets, before mercifully closing them out in the 7th game. This was some form of bad omen for LA, however, as they'd get steamrolled in round 2 by a blistering hot OKC Thunder team on their way to a finals appearance. Kobe Bryant would drop an efficient 42 points in a Game 5 loss. A game that would unfathomably turn out to be Kobe's last playoff appearance ever. Those 2012 playoffs would also mark the end of the Kobe Powell Bynum core, as on August 10th, 2012, chaos inflection point number 2. The Lakers would trade Andrew Bynum, along with a number of other pieces in a massive 4-team deal which saw them receive 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Dwight Howard. The multi-year pursuit of Howard was finally fulfilled by the Lakers, who just a month prior had also traded for 2-time league MVP Steve Nash from the Phoenix Suns. The Lakers had managed to put together an on-paper super team, and in hindsight, the Dwight trade wasn't all that bad, as Andrew Bynum's career would immediately take a nosedive. The Steve Nash part of the equation, however, well, that deal was rough, as the Lakers surrendered their first-round pick in both 2013 and 2015. The deal aged horribly for LA almost immediately, as Nash would play in just 65 games over 2 seasons, averaging a modest 11 points, 6 assists per game. Man, I hate that my guy Steve went out sad like that. Regardless, the hype for the 2012-13 Lakers was out of control, with many believing they were indeed the team to beat. However, the seeds of dysfunction that would eventually blossom for this core were planted early. When discussing whether he'd still be the #1 option for the Lakers, Kobe would say, quote, "I don't want to get into the, well, we share. No, it's my team, but I want to make sure that Dwight, when I retire, this is going to be his." Kobe told Dwight to stay in his lane and wait his turn. Amazing. Mike Brown tried implementing a new Princeton-style offense for the Lakers prior to the season. The Lakers started the season 1-4, and Mike Brown with his Princeton-style offense was immediately fired. Ruthless, man. Mike D'Antoni would step in as head coach, and the Lakers would eventually limp to the All-Star break with a 25-29 record. Post-All-Star break, though, Kobe Bryant went to work. He'd averaged 29.7 assists per game during a 20-8 stretch run, as the Lakers vaulted themselves into a playoff position. Part of that run, however, featured Kobe returning from a sprained ankle in March to play 43 minutes per game in the final 11 games of the season, including a game in which he played all 48 minutes to secure a W against Portland. That heavy mileage would unfortunately have devastating consequences for the Lakers superstar.
Bryant again going to work, falls down. Again, he's struggling. So Kobe Bryant cannot continue.
Bryant would tear his Achilles, an injury which would obviously cost him the remainder of 2013, as well the beginning of the following season. He'd done enough to put the Lakers in the playoffs, but without him, well, they'd get swept aside with ease by the San Antonio Spurs. In a bit of a shocking twist during the 2013 offseason, Dwight Howard, who was eligible for a 5-year, $118 million deal with the Lakers, signed as a free agent in Houston. Dwight cited a desire to be in a place that made him happy, which apparently wasn't Los Angeles. Also wouldn't be Houston, as it turns out, but that's a story for a different video. The remaining Kobe Powell Nash trio never gained any traction in 2013-14, as Steve would play in just 15 games due to various injuries, while Kobe would also severely hurt his knee just 6 games after returning from his Achilles injury. Super tough, man. Also important to note here, as chaos inflection point number 3, that Kobe also had signed a massive 2-year deal worth nearly $50 million prior to the season. While it was technically a slight discount for the Lakers, the deal meant Kobe remained the highest paid player in the NBA despite being 35 years old, coming off a devastating Achilles injury. The Lakers would end up going 27-55 on the season, with Nick Young and Jody Meeks being 2 of their 3 highest scorers. That's very much not what you want. Mike D'Antoni would step aside after 2 failed seasons at the helm of the Lakers, with former Coach of the Year and Laker great Byron Scott hired to replace him. Pau Gasol would leave LA and sign a 3-year deal with the Bulls, while Steve Nash would eventually retire after being ruled out for the entire season. The 2014 offseason also began a stretch of notable free agency failure for the purple and gold, or a continuation of that after losing Dwight in 2013, as despite having enough cap space to add 1 more max contract, the Lakers struck out on everybody, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, even Kyle Lowry. And this is why I specifically made mention of Kobe's contract extension. LA doing right by their longtime star was completely understandable, but it put a cap on how freely the Lakers could maneuver in free agency, both financially and personally. Which leads into chaos inflection point number 4, as in October of 2014, a scathing article was published by ESPN the magazine suggesting that Kobe himself was the reason for the Lakers' recent downfall. The article laid out how the 2014 offseason had long been a target for the franchise, in which they could potentially land a franchise cornerstone such as LeBron James. As we know, they struck out. I won't mention each and every detail of the article, since some of it reads like it was written with a vendetta against Kobe personally. But one quote from an anonymous source within the Lakers that has some harsh truth to it, at least in my opinion, read, quote, "Kobe wants to win, but only as long as he's the reason we're winning, as long as the performance is not affecting his numbers. No one works harder than Kobe, and no one sabotages his own efforts more. He's scaring off the free agents we're trying to get. We're trying to surround you with talent, and your ego is getting in the way." Again, the article was pretty biting and possibly a bit over the top. But LeBron never seriously considered the Lakers in 2014. Say what you'd like about Dwight Howard, but he was a legitimate star in 2013 and he couldn't leave LA fast enough. Obviously something wasn't right. Lakers president Jeannie Buss, by the way, would dismiss the entire article, suggesting that any player who didn't want to play with Kobe is a loser. Well, alright then. For their free agency failures, credit where it's due to the Lakers brass for going 2 for 2 at the 2014 draft, as they'd grab Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson. Randle would break his leg just 14 minutes into his rookie season, missing the remainder of the year. Kobe would tear his rotator cuff during the season, resulting in him playing just 35 total games while scoring 22 points a game on 37% from the field. The Lakers would limp to a franchise worst, at the time, 21-61 record, while generating a starting lineup that will live on in meme fame for eternity. Fortunately for the Lakers, GM Mitch Kupchak had top 5 protected that Lakers 2015 first-round pick, which was included in the Steve Nash trade. This meant the Lakers were able to hold on to the 2nd overall pick at the 2015 draft, wherein they selected D'Angelo Russell. The 2015 offseason also lent more credence to the ESPN article we just broke down, unfortunately, as the Lakers would once again strike out in free agency, this time very publicly with LaMarcus Aldridge, who was fresh off an All-NBA season with Portland. Reports surfaced that Aldridge didn't really vibe with the Lakers, leaving LA people stunned because they thought the meeting went great. LaMarcus didn't love that the Lakers tried to sell him on off-court LA benefits rather than on-court, and he wasn't sold when Kobe suggested he could slide into the Pau Gasol role next to him. Rather than let some cash burn a hole in their pockets, the Lakers would sign Roy Hibbert, Lou Williams, Brandon Bass, as well Metta World Peace made his return to Tinseltown. But after starting the 2015-16 season just 2-14, Kobe announced his plans to retire following the season. Bryant would play 66 games during his retirement tour season, with the Lakers limping to a new franchise worst 17-65 record. However, the season did end on a bang.
Will Kobe give them one last gamer? Bryant on the move with the jumper. He got it! 58 points! Mamba out.
Bro, I still can't believe how perfectly Kobe's career ended. Amazing. Once again, protections placed on the Steve Nash traded first-round pick came in clutch for the Lakers ahead of the 2016 draft. They'd keep the 2nd overall pick for the 2nd season in a row, this time selecting Brandon Ingram. LA would pull the old switcheroo of former players as head coach, axing Byron Scott after 2 dismal seasons and hiring Luke Walton to replace him. 2016 was the summer Kevin Durant shocked the basketball world and left OKC, and of course the Lakers were confident they'd get a foot in the door with the former league MVP. They did not, obviously. I mean, come on. Instead, we arrive at chaos inflection point number 5, as in an all-time boneheaded sequence of events. The Lakers would sign Luol Deng to a 4-year $72 million deal and Timofey Mozgov to a 4-year $64 million deal. What? These deals would age so terribly so quickly that in a year, LA was offering up draft capital to try and unload those contracts. Led by the young core of Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, D'Angelo Russell, and Brandon Ingram, the Lakers would marginally improve and go 26-56 in 2016-17. Midway through the season, general manager Mitch Kupchak was relieved of his duties, as Magic Johnson was brought on to run the team. Shortly thereafter, Kobe's former agent Rob Pelinka would be hired on as GM, and a new regime was in place. 2017 was the final year of protection on that Steve Nash traded pick, so once again LA was bailed come draft night. Now the 2017 draft is chaos inflection point number 6, and it's a two-parter. I mean, all the stuff happened at this draft for the Lakers. First, LA would select with the 2nd overall pick Lonzo Ball out of UCLA, 1 spot ahead of Jason Tatum. This also meant they selected the ever-dramatic LeVar Ball with the 2nd overall pick, because why not add even more chaos? Speaking of which, also at the draft, Pelinka and Magic would shockingly trade 21-year-old D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Timofey Mozgov was included in the trade, so essentially the Lakers sacrificed one of their budding young stars in exchange for some cap relief, which is just horrible process. Additionally, Magic would reveal years later that he was motivated to move D'Lo in response to the off-court drama between Russell and Nick Young back in 2016. Seriously? To be completely fair, the return on the trade was useful for the Lakers. Brook Lopez was an expiring contract, and the 27th overall pick would turn into Kyle Kuzma. Led by a smattering of youngsters, Randall, Clarkson, Ingram, Ball, and Kuzma, the Lakers would once again improve in 2017-18, finishing 35-47 on the season. And finally, we have a second to breathe. I mean, the Lakers couldn't possibly throw even more unpredictability into this complex natural system, could they? Well, of course they could and would. The Steve Nash protection finally wore off, and the Lakers sacrificed the 10th overall pick, which would be used on Mikal Bridges. Wow, ironic that the Lakers really could have used a long, defensive-oriented, sharpshooting wing this season, but I digress. I also forgot to mention, during the 2018 season, LA had traded Larry Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson to the Cavaliers as Cleveland geared up for a championship run. Ironically, that was a super wise deal for the Lakers as it cleared enough cap space for them to potentially recruit UFA to be LeBron James from those very same Cleveland Cavaliers. See, let me point out again, the chaos of the Lakers wasn't always bad. Chaos inflection point number 7, in fact, was very, very good. On July 1st, 2018, LeBron James inked a 4-year deal with the LA Lakers. Having finally hit on a star free agent, they'd quickly go to work to appease LeBron, which meant sacrificing another young piece in Julius Randle. In renouncing Randle's contract and letting him walk to free agency, the Lakers ensured cap flexibility for the summer of 2019 to potentially lure in Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. Now, I frame that move as trying to appease LeBron. I'm not really sure how fair that is, as in, I don't believe LeBron marched into Rob Pelinka's office and demanded they cut Julius Randle. But I do believe the inherent pressure to build a contender when LeBron was signed caused the Lakers to make certain moves, such as letting Randle go for nothing. Another bit of irony, by the way, is that Anthony Davis was reportedly influential in Julius Randle deciding to sign with the Pelicans. Unfortunately for those hoping to see LeBron nurture and help develop the remaining young talent on the Lakers roster, well, that wasn't on the horizon after a 37-45 season in 2018-19. The season was a disappointment, but undoubtedly a result of terrible injury luck. LeBron missed 27 games, Ingram 30, and Lonzo 35. As the season was coming to a close, Magic Johnson would shock the NBA world by stepping down from his position as Lakers president. He'd later reveal that he felt backstabbed by Rob Pelinka for comments made behind his back. What? In hindsight, that moment also could have been a chaos inflection point, but it was more funny than anything else.
I'm not gonna be here.
Another coaching change during the 2019 offseason as Luke Walton was fired and replaced by Frank Vogel. The Lakers had a stroke of luck at the draft lottery, landing the number 4 overall pick. That pick, though, would never be made. I'm not sure why I just said that so dramatically. Maybe because it leads into chaos inflection point number 8. After weeks of rumors and jockeying, the Lakers would trade that number 4 overall pick along with a haul of assets to the Pelicans for 6-time All-Star Anthony Davis. The aforementioned haul included Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart, meaning all of the young talent acquired by the Lakers from 2014 through 18 was out the door, except for Kyle Kuzma, of course. As well, LA traded 2 more firsts and 2 more pick swaps. This move was also the genesis for what many believe is a fact at this point in 2022, that the Lakers are actually run by LeBron James and his agency, Clutch Sports Group. During the 18-19 season, Rich Paul, agent of both Anthony Davis and LeBron James, told the Pelicans that Davis wouldn't be re-signing after the season and was requesting a trade. Specifically, Davis wanted to land alongside LeBron in LA, as he had reportedly planned to sign with the Lakers in 2020 regardless. Whether forced by LeBron or not, the Lakers weren't willing to wait until free agency and risk not getting a second star next to LeBron. It seems possible in hindsight that they could have waited a year, saved some assets, signed him anyways, but again, they couldn't take that chance. The decision to make the trade though, well, it paid immediate dividends, as the Lakers sported a league best 49-14 record at the time of the COVID shutdown in March of 2020. It's also worth noting here that in January 2020, the NBA world was shaken to its core when Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gigi, and 7 others were tragically killed in a helicopter accident. Rest in peace. The Lakers would officially end the season 52-19 following the restart in Orlando in August of 2020. At season's end, Anthony Davis would finish with averages of 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, while LeBron would post 25, 8, and a league-leading 10.2 assists per game. LA would roll through the Blazers in round 1 of the playoffs, the hapless Houston Rockets in round 2, and after the Clippers choked a 3-1 series lead, an all-LA conference finals was narrowly missed, and the Lakers would beat Denver instead to clinch a spot in the finals. After a tumultuous 10-year journey through the mud as a franchise, the 9th chaos inflection point is the LA Lakers once again claiming their throne atop the NBA, as they'd win their 17th title in franchise history, beating the Miami Heat in 6 games in the 2020 NBA Finals. LeBron James won his 4th Finals MVP, while Anthony Davis was truly remarkable throughout the playoff run. All the chaos we've broken down in this video was absolutely worth it. It was worth it, right guys? For 99% of franchises in any pro sport, winning a championship, even a single one, would erase any past failures and give some sort of grace period moving forward. However, as we know, the Lakers aren't 99% of franchises. Expectations for them are always just different. Additionally, because of the bubble circumstances, fans weren't able to bask in the glow of the championship quite the same. While that doesn't diminish the title in any way when we talk about players and teams and their legacies involved, I do believe it weirdly made Laker fans thirstier for another championship that they could embrace in person. It seemed to raise the bar even higher for the LeBron era. The Lakers and Heat would have the shortest offseason in NBA history, with just 72 days elapsing between the end of the finals and the beginning of the 2021 season. Added to their championship core were 6th Man of the Year Montrezl Harrell, 6th Man runner-up Dennis Schroeder, as well veteran depth pieces Marc Gasol and Wes Matthews. The short offseason would catch up to the Lakers, as after a sparkling 21-7 start to the year, Anthony Davis would be sidelined for 30 games with a calf injury. Disaster would strike for LA weeks later, when LeBron James suffered a sprained ankle on a questionable play by Solomon Hill. James would miss 26 of the Lakers' remaining 30 games. Still, the Lakers would survive and finish 7th in the West, putting them in the play-in tournament with a matchup against Golden State, wherein LeBron did this.
Throws it back up top. James puts up the 3. Oh, it's gone! LeBron James from downtown!
Using the momentum of that clutch victory, the Lakers vaulted into the playoffs with a series against the 2nd-seeded Phoenix Suns. LA would earn a split on the road, then they'd steal home court advantage with a pivotal Game 3 victory at Staples Center, with Anthony Davis specifically playing fantastic. Alas, disaster would strike for the 2021 Lakers, again, as just prior to halftime of Game 4, Anthony Davis would suffer a non-contact groin injury. The Lakers would lose that Game 4, as well Game 5 with AD sidelined. He'd attempt to play in Game 6, only to leave after 5 minutes of action, as LA would swiftly be eliminated by the Phoenix Suns. There is certainly a case to be made that the Davis injury was indeed the main cause for the Lakers' early exit, but that was a moot point as LA's season was over, losing an extremely valuable year of contention in their tight championship window.
But like I said, Rob will do his due diligence and construct this team to where it needs to be to compete for a championship once again.
That due diligence LeBron referenced resulted in the Lakers' big game hunting all throughout the 2021 offseason. It's well documented at this point, but the Lakers reportedly courted names such as Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, DeMar DeRozan, before settling on a trade which sent Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and a first-round pick to Washington in exchange for Russell Westbrook. And yes, this is our 10th and final chaos inflection point which defines the past decade for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers believed they were getting a third star player to join James and Davis in the former league MVP Westbrook. Additionally, they'd add a slew of veteran pieces: Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, Malik Monk, while also losing Alex Caruso, Dennis Schroeder, and Markieff Morris. As we now know, the Russell Westbrook experience in LA was an unmitigated disaster. Both LeBron James and Anthony Davis struggled to stay on the court all season long. And even with both of them healthy, well, it wasn't a well-oiled machine. Finger pointing has already begun with regards to roster construction. Frank Vogel is set to be finally put out of his misery, and the Lakers will be tasked with once again digging themselves out of an increasingly large hole with very few assets to maneuver. As Uncle Ben once told a young Peter Parker, or as he's told him like a million different times at this point, with great power comes great responsibility. Likewise, the Lakers represent a certain level of prestige and power in the greater sports landscape, so it's understandable that expectations for the franchise are always extremely high. Just 2 seasons after winning an NBA championship, it once again feels as though the Lakers are at a breaking point. What moves will be made? Will this ship be corrected? I mean, only time will tell, of course, but whatever does happen, prepare yourselves, NBA fans, because chaos and the Lakers, well, they simply go hand in hand.